Hey Nintendo fans and collectors, Lithium here from my channel Nintendo Collecting. If you're anything like me, you likely have favorites. A favorite game in your collection, a favorite console that you own, and possibly one favorite item in your entire collection. Choosing favorites can be really difficult at times, but I get down to it in this week's episode of Question Lithium. Let's press start. Our first question for this week's episode comes from Koei14. What is your favorite Nintendo console to date? And what is your favorite game on the system? That is a terribly difficult question to try and answer because Nintendo has so many amazing consoles, whether they be home consoles or handheld consoles throughout the years. I believe both home and handheld consoles are roughly on their 6th generation, even though Nintendo did have some consoles out before those that were called the color TV consoles. Really up for nomination though is only these 12 consoles, and I'm just going to run through them really quickly. The Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U is out now. In terms of handheld consoles, there is the Game & Watch, the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and now the Nintendo 3DS. All of these consoles have their positives, a few of them have some negatives as well, but I'm probably going to make the argument that whatever console you owned first, whether it be Nintendo, Sega, Atari, PlayStation, Xbox, usually your first console that you were getting games as they came out is the one that you relate to the most and the one that's the most nostalgic for you. In a lot of cases, that is actually your favorite console. And I would love to hear your comments below. What is your favorite console, and was it your first home console or handheld console that you owned and got games for it while they came out? For me, again, if you follow my channel, I'm sure you know that my answer for my favorite Nintendo console is the Nintendo 64. I did get it first with my own money, and I was always playing Super Nintendo and Nintendo Entertainment System games at my friends' houses growing up. But when I finally bought my own console, the Nintendo 64, bought the games as they were coming out, I fell in love with it, and all of those games to me are so nostalgic that it makes me, I just love the console, makes me have a liking for it, and it's my favorite. With the GameCube, that was the same thing. I was getting games as they came out, and the Wii, and now the Wii U, but still the Nintendo 64 holds a place in my heart. I'm sure a lot of you that were born near the year 2000 probably think the GameCube or the Wii is your favorite. And those of you that were born earlier than I was born late 80s, you might think that the NES or the Super Nintendo is your favorite, or something like that, so please comment below. In terms of handheld consoles, I actually grew up on the Sega Game Gear. It was in color, but it drained batteries so quickly. So a lot of these handheld consoles I never grew up with. My first handheld console that I actually got was the Nintendo DS, but I got that midway through the generation. At launch, essentially, I got the Nintendo 3DS, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, and this is definitely my favorite handheld console from Nintendo. But my favorite console overall being the Nintendo 64, you also asked, what is my favorite game on my favorite console? Now this was really difficult to determine, but I really chose the one that wasn't graded the highest, or even the one that I've played the most hours of. This is just the one that is my favorite, the one that brings a smile to my face, and the one that is the most nostalgic for me. And the answer for that is most definitely Paper Mario. An instant classic by my regards, and I'm sure if I actually played Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars on the Super Nintendo, I would have liked that one the most. But I played this one first. It absolutely holds a close place in my heart. I love this game to death. It is my favorite. It's quirky, it's funny, it has a good story, I like the gameplay, and overall it just reminds me of growing up and just being so happy while playing that game. So Paper Mario is definitely my favorite game, even to the point where I pulled out the guide the other day after I read your question, and I was just reading through it, and it brought a smile to my face immediately. Let me know below by commenting what is your favorite game on any Nintendo home console or handheld console, and also what is your favorite console. Was it one that you got, the first one when you were growing up, or was it one that you got more recently? I'm just curious to find out, and thank you for your question. Our next question is a follow-up to the first question from Kevin McQueary. Which one game is your most favorite on each Nintendo system? What is my favorite game to start with on the Nintendo Entertainment System? That's also just a console that I never really got into growing up, but I have gone back and played quite a few of the games. Now I really want to fill out my Nintendo Entertainment System collection. As I go throughout my collecting career, there are a lot of games I want to pick up. There are a lot of games that I'm still missing and haven't really played yet, so my experience with this console is pretty limited to about 30 games, 30 to 35 games. And really, when I'm trying to narrow down my choices, it's pretty simple that it's really down to 3 or 4 games that to me are the most influential and also my favorite on the console. Now, to start with, this first one's not necessarily my favorite. I just have to mention, here are the games in the running, really. Tetris to me is so influential as a game, but it was out for a lot of other consoles. I'm not amazing at it, but it's a really fun puzzle game, but probably not my favorite. Now, The Legend of Zelda, what a classic. This one's instantly absolutely amazing, definitely up for contention for my favorite game on the NES, but ultimately, my favorite is Super Mario Bros. 3. Playing this one at my friend's house all the time growing up was absolutely outstanding. I love most Mario games, especially Mario platformers, and they're absolutely incredible. Super Mario Bros. 3, one of the best games of all time, and my personal favorite game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Next up is the Super Nintendo, and this one was a lot more difficult to choose. There are so many great games on the Super Nintendo. To me, probably about 40 to 50 of them are absolutely amazing, and this made picking number one really, really hard, but this is ultimately my favorite. Just my favorite list. This isn't debatably the best game, but games that I had to consider, and I'll go through them quickly. Donkey Kong Country was up in the mix. Chrono Trigger was up in the mix. Final Fantasy III was up there as well. Mega Man X, absolutely outstanding. Super Metroid, amazing game. Zelda, A Link to the Past, not my number one favorite game. Super Mario RPG, also not my favorite game. That leaves what being my favorite game on the Super Nintendo? Well, the answer is Super Mario World. This really is a continuation of Super Mario Bros. 3, and that being my favorite. I love Mario platformers. These games are absolutely perfect to me, and the music that comes on, the style of the game, the graphics, the gameplay, everything about Super Mario World brings me back immediately. This is a for display only box, because I actually don't have the original box. But whenever I play Super Mario World, I instantly smile, the music and everything about it brings me back. So that is my favorite Super Nintendo game. With the Nintendo 64, I already answered the question about what was my favorite game, and it was Paper Mario, but I want to let you know what the other games that were kind of in contention for being my favorite. They were Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Super Smash Bros., 007 GoldenEye, Harvest Moon 64, Mario Party 2, but of course, the winner for me was Paper Mario. The Nintendo GameCube was actually Nintendo's worst-selling home console at roughly 22 million units, but that does not mean it's lacking in amazing games. Some of the games I considered to be my favorite, or in contention for my favorite, were Metroid Prime, 1 and 2 really, Mario Kart Double Dash, Pikmin, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Mario Sunshine, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess, and my winner for my favorite game on the Nintendo GameCube is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. If you have never played this game before, I do recommend that you play it on the Wii U. I think that's the definitive version to play it, but because this released on the Nintendo GameCube, and I basically played this, I think, at launch, it's definitely my favorite Nintendo GameCube game. The Nintendo Wii to me had a great mix of old games, it had a great mix of new games, some with motion control, some that didn't have motion control, but there were so many great games on this console, I had a hard time choosing this time around as well. Up for nomination, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Xenoblade Chronicles, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Metroid Prime Trilogy, yes that's right, all three, but really Corruption combined with the other two with the new playstyle, Skyward Sword, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Galaxy, and the winner of my favorite Nintendo Wii game is Super Mario Galaxy 2. This one improved on everything in the originals. It was amazing. It was actually epic. I couldn't believe when I was actually running upside down as Mario. I'm happy they made it new and interesting again, and they brought back Yoshi, my favorite game on the Nintendo Wii. Before I get to talking about the Nintendo Wii U, first I'm just going to run through really quickly all my handheld favorite games on those consoles. On the Nintendo Game Boy, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. On the Game Boy Color, Pokemon Gold. On the Game Boy Advance, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. On the Nintendo DS, Mario Kart DS. On the Nintendo 3DS, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Following up to that previous question again, from Pokemon Trainer J100. If I got a Wii U system, which game do you think should I start with? Which games did you start with, and which was your favorite? Thank you for your question, specifically about the Wii U. Because the Wii U has not quite done its entire cycle, or hardware generation cycle, I really want to just wait and see what it brings before I decide what is my absolute favorite Wii U game, because it's a little premature. However, you're asking what games did I start by getting? Well, I got this console right here, and the one game that it came with was Nintendo Land. This is a great compilation of a lot of mini games. The ones that I like the most, especially playing them with friends, is Mario Chase Me. There's one by Animal Crossing, and there's also one by Luigi's Mansion, which are all exceptional. They're a lot of fun. There's a few other ones that are single player that are great, and the Metroid one in this is actually spectacular as well. I definitely highly recommend you pick up Nintendo Land. Another game that I personally got close to launch was Zombie U. This is a mature game. It's a zombie horror game. You should check it out. It's pretty unique. It's made by Ubisoft, and it's pretty damn awesome. And another game that I got close to launch, obviously, was New Super Mario Bros. U. This one really does feel like a continuation of the one on the Wii, and a continuation of all the side-scrolling Mario games. It is really good. It's a solid Mario platformer. You'll have a lot of fun, whether alone or with friends. Other games that I could recommend that were up for nomination of my favorite on the console would be The Wonderful 101, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Pikmin 3, and I already mentioned Zelda Wind Waker HD that I do think you should check out if you've never played that one before, but the best game, the definitive game, the one game that I would recommend you get on the Wii U if you have no games yet and you are looking to buy the console is Super Mario 3D World. A spectacularly well done Mario game, definitely in the high 90s for me in terms of a review for this game. It brings back the fun, it makes you smile, it challenges you, it's long, you can play it alone, you can play it with friends. This game is a masterpiece on the Wii U, and the one definitive game that I would suggest or recommend you get if you're buying a Wii U. Our next question comes from John Gibb. He asks, what is your favorite figurine in your collection? It was also difficult for me to choose what my favorite figurine was in my entire collection, because I do have about 300 different figurines to choose from, but ultimately it really boiled down to Ness from Earthbound or Mother 2. This character came in a box from Banpresto. This is kind of made of clay. It's quite heavy. This one actually sells for probably over $50 as well. It's one of my more expensive figurines that I have in my collection. Now, Earthbound is such a quirky, amazing game on the Super Nintendo. It was also up for probably my favorite game, but I might have left it out of all the ones I mentioned, just so that this was more of a surprise. Ness looks amazing as this figurine. He is a bit heavy. The bottom base is actually just plastic, but playing him in Super Smash Bros. Is always difficult. It's always challenging for me. Whenever I look at this figurine, it brings a smile to my face as I think back to the amazing game of Earthbound. How quirky it is, how different it is. If you have never played it and you have a Wii U, pick it up. It's only $10. Ness is definitely my favorite figurine in my entire collection. And our last question for this week's episode comes from AGDude6. What is your favorite item in your collection? Trying to whittle down my entire collection into just one item, my favorite item in my entire collection, the one that I probably hold the most dear, the one that I love the most, the one that represents me as an entire collector and as a Nintendo collector was so difficult. There were so many different things that I could choose from, and honestly, day to day, it kind of sometimes changes, but the runner-up, because I really have to mention too, I think the runner-up to me is definitely this amazing badass Dai-A Hawks Nintendo 64 console. This one is incredibly rare. It's an awesome orange on the top, a very dark, clear black on the bottom. The matching controller looks just as spectacular, and this one is really cool. It's sought after by collectors. I love the color orange. I'm half Dutch. Maybe that's why I love the color orange, but it always stood out to me growing up. So that's probably the runner-up for my favorite item in my collection. But my favorite number one item in the entire collection doesn't even have a box, doesn't come with instruction manuals, and it's one of the first Nintendo items I went after as a collector. I don't know why I gravitated towards this so much, but I absolutely love, and it's my favorite, the Millennium 2000 controller. These ones were limited to only 1,000. They were obviously released around the year 2000. They were a promotion item from Nintendo Power. They're very, very difficult to try and pick up now. They do sell for hundreds of dollars. Black on the bottom, silver on the top. The only Nintendo controller, Nintendo 64 controller, with the same colored buttons, all black. Even the casing around the analog stick is black as opposed to gray. The start button is still red. And of course it does say Millennium 2000 and pretty badass text on the top. I used to have this as my display picture on YouTube for a very, very long time. This is the one item that probably summarizes me as a Nintendo collector if I had to boil it down to one item. And it's debatably, I think right now, especially, my favorite item in my entire collection. Please comment below what is your favorite item in your collection, whether it be Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation, Atari, or whatever it is that you collect for. What is your favorite and what makes it your favorite? My favorite's this one, probably because I just collected it first. Thank you so much for your question. That brings to an end this week's episode of Question Lithium. If you didn't check out last week's episode, which was all about Super Smash Bros., be sure to click on that video in the top right-hand corner now. If you have any questions for me for future episodes, be sure to follow me on Twitter at CollectNintendo and add the hashtag QLithium. If you like this video, be sure to fill that like bucket, follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, and remember, as always, go collect 'em all.